And I have a superstar with me tonight. Her name is Jeanna Doyle, and she wrote this book, WigEd. We're going to talk about that. Plus, I'd love to find out, Jeanna, more about your background and all of the wonderful things that you've been doing. So, welcome to Tinseltown.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. Jeanna, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I've been a makeup artist for 30 years now, and I started out in skincare and corrective makeup. I worked with plastic surgeons and really loved that. And then I got into advertising and fashion, and I really loved that. And then I returned to patient care when I started the nonprofit, and that was, I think, 2013. And from there, really, I was helping a girlfriend shop for a wig who had breast cancer, and she's now a 6-year survivor.
Oh, good.
Ruth, I think she's listening. Oh. And that experience led me to really start the nonprofit and realize what a void there is in the marketplace for women who need help selecting a wig. And from starting the nonprofit, I was trying to gain awareness, and everyone said, well, you have to have a book if you want to do speaking engagements. So I started the process of writing this book.
So that makes a lot of sense. But why did you even go? I mean, you have your friend and, you know, but what was inside you from the very beginning that made you want to help other people and then help them in this way?
I think early in my career, being a makeup artist and working with women, through plastic surgeon's office, I got to work with women who had major traumatic events, and anything that happens kind of on your face is really significant for a man or a woman, trauma-wise, and it's very unsettling. I mean, from the smallest, blemish to a major tragedy, it's on our face, then it's kind of forward, and it's what we put out there. So it can be very impactful. And as a makeup artist, having the tools to help people kind of let their insides match their outsides was very powerful for me. And so from a very young age, I really resonated with helping women feel better about the way they looked at themselves with makeup.
That must be very rewarding for you. I mean, when helping other people, really, I have to say I'm a little emotional today because somebody that I love is dying and has been very influential in everything I say. I think of him, and so when you're selfless like that, you're not thinking about how it makes you feel, but that is a benefit. It does come back to you, and it's very nice. And so I hope that that's how it is for you. When I got the email about the opportunity to interview you and meet you, I was attracted by the tips that you said that you could give. Do you want to give us some tips about how to look our best for the holidays, or, help me?
Okay, so tips in general or tips for women going through treatment? You want me to start with just tips in general?
I like tips in general, but I want the tips for people going through treatment because I feel like at some point we'll share that with them, and I'd like to know what it is that you would tell them.
Okay. Yeah. So for holiday, and this is really good for a woman going through treatment also who's losing maybe eyebrows and eyelashes. Red is a great color for the holidays for your lips. I see you're donning some red lips, and I have my version of it too. And red lip isn't something to be scared of. It's something really that can be worn by any woman, because you can go to a brown red, you could go to a wine colored red, it could be clear, it could be just a tinted lip gloss. I mean, it can go from like a solid dramatic lip to something just soft with a hint of color. But when you add color to your mouth, it kind of pulls focus from your eyes. And so you want to have a strong mouth and maybe not such a strong eye. And this is very helpful for someone who's losing their eyelashes, their eyebrows are thinning, and it's just a great cheery holiday color that makes everybody's teeth look whiter. And one of the tips for red lipstick is to draw in the entire mouth with a pencil first, and that'll help kind of prevent bleeding. But not only do you want to draw on the inside, you can draw on the outside. So you can take your little angled brush or your sponge and use concealer on the corners of your mouth to kind of sharpen up that line, and then take that same sponge and dip it in a little loose powder. And you're creating like a little kind of perimeter or a barrier from the lipstick to prevent it from bleeding, while giving that like really great drawn on red lip.
I love it. I love it. You're speaking my language. First of all, the red lipstick is kind of my signature thing for my show. I feel like when I put that lipstick on right before I go on live, that's my character, you know, so that I can just
on the brain that you're ready to go.
Yeah, it's what makes me Miz Meliz, really. And so it's special for me, and I do better, you know, sometimes I do better when I'm put my whole face on, but if I just have the lipstick on, don't even pay attention to all the other stuff, it still makes me feel better. And so I appreciate that you said that. And then also like brings me up a question, especially if somebody is not feeling well. You know, I don't like to put makeup on all the time. I don't even feel like putting makeup on today. And I cried a lot today. So I definitely didn't feel like putting makeup on when I got home from work. But, you know, I can't imagine being in that position of being so ill and wanting to put your face on. You know, what do you say to people when they're like, I don't want to put makeup on?
It's not necessary. Wigs aren't necessary. Makeup's not necessary. And a lot of women will tell you that they do it kind of for other people, not for themselves. So like a lot of women will wear a wig because they have young children in their lives, or they want some privacy while they're going to work. So I'm not necessarily an advocate for wearing a wig. I'm an advocate for women having the information they need to make that decision for themselves. And the same thing with makeup. So the makeup tips that we use through the corrective makeup training and the nonprofit are really to just kind of recreate a little bit of privacy for them, so that they could have an eyebrow if they want to run to the grocery store, and you know, they could put on a hat and kind of be you know, anonymous. And that's what a lot of us appreciate every day in our lives, and it's something that they lose when they lose their hair suddenly. So I'm not a proponent for or against. I'm a proponent for having the tools so that when you feel like it, or if there's a situation where that, you know, is something that's you want to do, then that's your option. But to wear makeup every day it's not my goal for women to do that.
Well, I can see that. You know what I think about when I'm listening to you is just that if I were going through this and someone like you came to talk to me about how I could feel better, I think it would inspire me. I mean, I just have this picture of you know, this old oncologist being very serious. I saw a movie recently that I actually interviewed the director on my show, and it was about a woman who had cancer, and the doctor says to her, you know, he's very, very dry. And, you know, everything he says just comes off sounding like so harsh. And so I think that was the stereotype. And, you know, surely he's not going to give her advice on how to look better for her husband, or how to, you know, be anonymous when she's, you know, feeling like going out. So I think that's really neat. I think that's a unique thing for you. What is your community like? What are the other people that you work with like? How have you found your place in you know, like all these experts? I was looking at that.
Yes, really. I think because the experts who are treating or working with patients, they really know that this is what the women want. They want to feel better about themselves, or they want to feel like themselves. And you know, being a makeup artist for over 30 years and working with like every caliber of person and every level of financial situation and background, it's astonishing. The women who are in treatment are the only women that only ask to look like themselves. Like everyone else will say, well, can you make me look, you know, younger? Can you make me look blah, blah. Right. Treatment, just want to look like themselves, and that's so refreshing. And the doctors that treat them hear that, but they're really concentrated on making them better, whether that's emotionally because they're a social worker, or physically because they're a doctor or surgeon. So when I approached these doctors and said, hey, I really would like a statement for these women in this book about the impact of this issue, they were like, yes, of course. So
Yeah.
it was an easy ask, and it was an easy thing for them to say yes to, because they really liked the project and they love these women.
I love these quotes too. You've made an important contribution to the literature that can help patients who are struggling today with body image challenges related to hair loss. But more than that, because it's just, I've always believed that a little self-care makes a big difference, and you take care of yourself, and you project a little bit healthier, a little bit better, positive vibes. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, so I think that's really cool. How can I help you to get your message out, and how can I, what can I do for you to get your book seen or your services, provided? What is your next big thing? You want to speak at events? And
yes, if two people get in a room, I will talk about this subject because it's so important. And so being on shows like this are very important for me because I'm a self-published author. So the PR on this is amazing. And it's great to have someone who's passionate about this subject and interested in this format, although it was a little bit of technical challenge for me getting on. It's really such a cool format. I'm sharing that with some friends today about, hey, watch this and see how we do. So I'm glad it worked out, and really just the opportunity to connect with people that have like minds in this, and get the word out about the book and the nonprofit, and really this kind of growing industry of oncology trained estheticians that work with the skin challenges or the makeup or the wigs for these women. It's so important for us to get the word out that we exist and that, this is something that's available, and that we're trying to, the goal of the nonprofit is to have an oncology trained esthetician on staff. So every hospital and cancer center in the country just about has a nutritionist, they have a social worker, they have, people on staff to help these women navigate their cancer journey. And for me, a very important addition to that team would be an oncology esthetician to help them navigate the changes that are going to happen in their appearance that are so impactful to them. So that's the goal of the nonprofit, and awareness is key. So is media or money?
Well, that's, while you're speaking, I'm typing away names of people who I want to see this. So hopefully if they can't come right now, they'll get that notification and understand that I was thinking about them while you were talking, that because they have social influence or experience with the need. So I'm hoping that through this, I can connect you to even just one person who you could help. And then of course, I don't know if you've heard of Connect Her. It's a business entrepreneur blogger conference for ladies. It's an annual conference. This next summer, it's going to be in Las Vegas. It's really grown. I spoke at it last year, and I've attended a couple of years now. It's by Laura Filipowicz. She's a blogger and social influencer, and she brings together very inspiring and powerful women to speak at this conference. I think that you would be really great. So I hope that you connect with her. So I tagged her in here because this is, she just, something about you makes me think that she would like to talk to you. And she's also a cancer survivor. So, I think that she loves to talk to people who have hope and speak hope. So that's what you do. That's what you do.
Thank you. That would be fabulous. I'd love that.
What made you want to get into the whole makeup artistry and fashion to begin with? I have, always been interested in fashion too.
Well, I kind of stumbled onto it, but it worked out very well for me. I was in college and struggling to have a lot of learning disabilities that were undiagnosed. And I needed a job that summer, and I didn't want to do food service. And I got a job at a skin and body care salon, which was unusual because it was 1986 and there weren't many salons that were just skincare and makeup and nails. They all had hair. So I got a job there and I fell in love with the industry. And then the people that tested me for the learning problems, they said, you've chosen exactly where your attributes lie. And I fell in love with the industry. And I went to beauty school. I first went and got my nail license. And then I went to beauty school, and then I started, like I said, working with the doctors and then doing some local advertising. And this was all in Lexington, Kentucky. So I was kind of a big fish in a small pond there for the industry. And so I got to do a lot of things that were just very exciting. And I love helping women feel better about the way they look. It's just, I feel like that's what I'm here to do.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is just a wonderful message. And, that's yours. Do you know how lucky you are? Because you do, because to start out at such a young age and kind of finding what it is that was your niche and was what you're good at and where you had the abilities to do and the aptitude. It's wonderful. So do you have a let's see, have you ever been, what's my point? I think I want to talk about like other interests that you've had. Tell me more about you. Like, do you have kids? Have you traveled? Did you, relationships? I mean, women struggle with, I know I struggle with having so many things and wearing so many hats. How have you dealt with that?
I think, well, first of all, I don't have children. My husband has children, and I'm married now happily I think we're married like a year and a half now. We've been together like 5 years. And so that's really wonderful. And I have 2 beautiful nieces, and my friends have children. And so I think all of my interests have kind of surrounded this industry. I mean, I've worked in doctor's office, I've worked in hospitals, I've worked on TV and film sets, I've worked in advertising, I've traveled all over the world. And so it's really, this industry, the beauty industry has been an amazing industry because it's touched on medical and media and fashion and all these things. I've never been bored in this. So that's been huge for me. I love yoga. I'm a huge yoga practitioner, and I went to teacher training and decided that I didn't want to turn the thing that was my release from my job into a job. So I think a lot of people do that. They go, I love this so much, I just want to do it. And it's like, okay, now that's a job. So I backed off from that, but I love the training, and I've made some good friends that I'm still friends with today through that. And I'd like to practice yoga. That's this kind of pioneering this industry is kind of my passion now. It's kind of what lights me up, and it's enabled me, the industry as a whole has enabled me lots of experiences that I'm so grateful for.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I think that's pretty cool. The yoga thing. I wrote It's Yoga Week on Tinseltown because I spoke with Lou Redmond on the Sunday morning, just yesterday morning. Oh my gosh, it was a very long day. And he's a guy who he talked a lot about yoga and meditation. And he started over his life realizing that he was going down a dangerous path of not taking care of himself and living hard and playing hard is what he called it. And then he changed to now where he's just a lot more mindful and doing things that are good for other people. And he's just so much healthier. And then tomorrow night, I'm going to be talking with Ruth Curran, who just did a travel with purpose trip to Tanzania, and she's going to tell me about her experiences. And she's just a really lovely, introspective woman. She wrote a book about and has a game actually for brain to strengthen your brain after having some brain damage or having, concussions and stuff. And so she's had to deal with retraining herself and learning how to, deal with those kinds of issues. So, I just, what everyone seems to have in common lately is that need and yearning and love of slowing down and being in the moment and just accepting, who we are. And that to me is what, the practice of yoga has done and will do again when I get back into it. But, just to be able to be just fluid and not running or looking or analyzing.
Yeah, it's letting go, I think, because you practice in a room a lot of times with other people, but you're focused on what you can do and kind of self-acceptance about where you're at. Yeah. And I think that's just universally important. So when I'm working with cancer patients, a lot of time, it's really giving them the tools to have self-care. And one of the tips that I always like to share, which is just kind of universal, is when a woman is very fatigued from chemo, there are things that she can do while she's getting ready for the day to kind of give herself permission to take breaks. And that if you think in terms of, like, we spend a lot of energy getting ready for the day, showering and, all this stuff. So one of the tips is, because the skin is so dry when they're going through chemo, is to get out of the shower and put on a nice fluffy robe instead of bending over to dry off, which can be a time, and an energy drain. And sitting down, we don't have to stand up to brush our teeth. We can sit down. Just because we always have doesn't mean we always have to. So just saving energy for the activities that you most want to have, and just having permission to go, I'm going to put a chair in the bathroom. I'm going to sit to brush. We used to sit and put our makeup on. And now we sit in our cars and put our makeup on. It's like it used to be this experience that we, think about the old, movies and advertisements with a beautiful vanity, and they sat and they brushed their hair at night. And now we're like shaking cereal out of it or whatever right before we go to bed. But
dry shampoo.
Right. Beauty ritual, and
we're looking in our phone to put our lipstick on.
Exactly. And we're all very busy, but especially for women going through really any type of illness, to give themselves permission. Just wrap up in a robe when you get out of the shower. Don't worry about bending over and drying off, or sit down to brush your teeth, sit down to floss your teeth, to put on makeup or whatever it is. Just rethink things a little bit to conserve your energy. And that's just another kind of mindfulness. It's like in yoga, if you had an injury, you would have to do the pose the way that it works for you now, not what you used to do. And so the same thing with your beauty routine, which can be very powerful when people embrace that.
How cool. That's a really, really good one for everybody, but especially in times when you're, recovering from surgery or from dealing with any type of health issue, even having a baby, you have to really take it easy. And, sometimes in our culture, it's normal to do that. You pamper yourself. But I think when we're trying so hard to stay normal with a long-term kind of issue, like with chemotherapy, I can just imagine that you would get so frustrated with that fatigue. So just to be reminded of those little things, that's wonderful. What else have you got?
Let's see. Again, the dryness is kind of an inside out thing where you just feel this extreme dryness. And the best thing you can do really is to hydrate as much as possible and not to deplete that. But also there's a lot of really natural things if your skin can tolerate it. Coconut oil is fabulous if you're not allergic to that. And, you think in terms of we think it's really expensive to cook with. It's $8 for a jar. But if you think of it as a face cream, it's only $8. That's fabulous.
Exactly. You spend $80 on a smaller jar, right?
Exactly. And this is natural, and put a spoonful of it in your smoothie, and that's it, you know, what you can tolerate as far as that. And really, I have another friend who's really quite an expert in oncology skincare. I'm not as expert as she is, but keeping that skin, you know, just really hydrated as much as possible. And there is a difference between moisture and hydration. So be mindful of, you know, how much caffeine we take in and things like that, so that the skin is working optimally.
I see what you're saying. So no matter how much oil and moisturizer you put on yourself, if you're not hydrating, you're still going to feel that SpongeBob SquarePants on the beach feeling. That's like
exactly. Yeah.
So dry.
And then one of the tips that I love for women who are experiencing, and this is any woman really, whether they're having a thyroid condition or their hair is just thinning or they've lost their eyebrows or eyelashes to chemotherapy, is I like to use eyeshadow and water, and I use more than one color because pencils on the skin tend to bleed and you can't really add dimension that way. So I take a little angled brush, I wet it into a flat brown shadow, and I do more than one color just to give the illusion of an eyebrow. And you could go as light or as dark as you want to with that, and you can layer it up, and it lasts really a lot longer than just dry shadow or a pencil that would bleed.
It's a really good tip. I'd never considered doing it that way. I've had the powder with a brush eyeliner, eyebrow pencil, not pencil, it's like it's powder, and you could put it on wet or dry, and I think that has worked for me. I have like a spot where I had a chicken pox, and so I have and then now I have the issue that many women in my age face, where a lot of my eyebrows are coming in gray, so they just look invisible. But I did speak with I interviewed somebody last week who was her book is called Body Punishment. It's Maggie Simone, and she has OCD where she pulls her eyebrows and eyelashes out. So
Trichotillomania?
Yeah. So she's just she's always had that habit. She's taken, you know, and so she you know, has fear of going out with or being seen without her eyebrows, and, you know, or getting wet. You know, she was telling me about that growing up that way. And I thought, well, you know, there's so many uses and applications for your education here for people, even if they're not going through cancer. And I myself I have diabetes, and I'm on a lot of medications right now that cause me to have like excess sweating and dryness. It's so weird to be at both of those things at the same time, and a dry mouth and sensitivity. Sometimes I just don't want to be touched. I don't want to put anything on my face. There's so many little issues that we all go through for different reasons. And so, you know, I just think that having someone who's really looking into all of this and caring for it is so helpful. What else one more. I know we've been on for.
This is a good one because you and I are both already doing this tip, but when you're losing your eyebrows and eyelashes, the eyelashes serve as a protective barrier for UV and dust particles. So a lot of people, they'll also lose their hair inside their nose, so their nose is watering, their eyes are running. Even if you don't wear glasses, glasses can add color to your face, and they can serve as that protection for you from wind and debris. So, you know, a nice pair of frames that, you know, I used to call them cheaters until I got to the real prescription from the, you know, drugstore with a little bit of color, can also kind of disguise a little bit of the eyes, and then you pop them out with a little bit of color. But it'll kind of really help the eyes. They struggle a bit when the lashes are thinning, because normally the lashes also have a function other than, you know, the form that we love from them. So
Yeah, mine were busy today. And so, but
if your eyes are really sore from, you know, crying and they're puffy, you can take a large serving spoon and stick it in the freezer with the ice and just rock the back of it on your eye. So like a cradle. And you can do 2 at a time. It's easy because it gets cold right away. You just close your eye and it'll soothe that inflammation and really make it feel nice.
I am going to be doing that soon. Yeah, because I do have that puffy eye feeling. And it's also where I live is very windy and dusty. And there's a lot of construction going on. So there's like stuff in the air. All those things bother me. So we do have a question here. Any advice on dry eye? So that's a good question.
Dry eye, there's changes that can occur to the eye when you go through treatment. So it's anything that comes up like that, you want to, you know, get a baseline maybe with your optometrist, but let your oncologist know if you're in treatment. Maybe she just says dry eye, and that's something to consult your optometrist with.
Because that, yeah, so that is.
Because it could be like a gland thing. It could be something they're dry because of the chemo, but there can be changes that happen to your vision. So you want to be mindful. Getting a baseline check of your eyes is important to make sure that everything's functioning optimally, and there are drops and things that you can do for that. And then, you know, if you're wearing makeup, you may prefer to switch to waterproof if you're, you know, watering a lot. So.
That's really good too. So, you know, I have another question here, and this goes to a totally different part of the conversation, but Barb wants to know if you've contacted the American Cancer Society about collaborating.
I have been a trainer for them. I started in '93, and I work with their Look Good, Feel Better program. And then I'm a facilitator here in Dallas. But what I'd really like to connect with them on is the book, because the information there is not something that they're currently going over. And then the corrective makeup curriculum. So thank you for that, Barb. And yes, I'm very familiar with the organization. They've kind of, you know, really kind of started all of this with their Look Good, Feel Better program, which is something offered through the American Cancer Society for Women.
Yeah, you have a really extensive background of working with as a licensed cosmetologist, a medical aesthetic provider, and medical makeup. What's medical makeup?
I don't like the term corrective makeup, so I'm kind of renaming it medical makeup. So, you know, I'm looking for a better term, because we used to call it paramedical, then we called it camouflage and corrective, and it just seems wrong for me. And we still use that term to say corrective, but medical means, you know, anything. It could be congenital, it could be an elective procedure, it could be, you know, that you're in treatment, or, you know, have illness or injury, or for whatever reason. I'm just kind of dubbing it medical makeup right now for lack of a better term.
Well, it sounds like the real serious thing, you know, and it is a serious thing. It's not like, it's not, and corrective, I totally get that. Medical, it's kind of like it's healthy. It's adhering to your, you know, relating in relationship to your health and being, you know, getting help. And that's how I feel when I hear medical, and like professional help, not just, you know, we're not just, well, there's no just. Everybody has to do what they need to do. But I am not afraid, and I like to tell people that it's okay to go to a professional for help. You know, why in our society do we think that that's a bad thing? If you know, you have a problem with your feet, you go to a foot doctor. Nobody freaks out about that. You know, so you got to see a professional about whatever it is that ails you, and they will help you. That's what that's what they live to do. So tell the people who've joined us and are watching now might not have heard when you were talking earlier about the HOPE method and developing that and your nonprofit. Do you still run the nonprofit?
Yes, it's a small nonprofit with really big goals and aspirations, and I am the founder nonprofit. We have a great board, and we have a pilot program at an NCI ranked cancer hospital. That's Sweet, SUITE, Hope. And then HOPE is an acronym that stands for Helping Oncology Patients Aesthetically. So sweethope.org, and there's a wealth of information about it there and the place to click and donate. And then the HOPE method, same acronym, is the corrective makeup curriculum that I designed to teach other makeup artists and estheticians how to do corrective makeup services. And you know, it's interesting. A lot of estheticians are starting to embrace this, but others are like, oh, I really only want to do skincare. Well, when a woman comes to you with skin issues, but she's completely lost her eyebrows, you know, just having a little bit of tools to help them. Because a woman who, you know, I work with a woman, and culturally, she just never wore makeup, but she wanted eyebrows. So she was at even a more disadvantage because she wasn't familiar with doing makeup at all. And it's so important just to have that little tool in her tool belt to put on brows when she wanted that privacy.
Right. I love it. When you say privacy, it's better than anonymity. It's just like, you don't want to be looked at. You want to fit in and blend in and feel normal and feel not, you know, just not inconspicuous. So I think I love that, the tools that you give and the help that you give. So the book is, let's see, Little Things Make Some of the Bigger Differences Sometimes. Yes, Kevin, thank you so much for saying that. That is so true. It is the little things, and they add up. And even, you know, if you're not going through something as big as chemo and dealing with being a survivor of cancer, you know someone who is, and it's good to know these things, because there's, what's the rate of people who are suffering with cancer? It's like 1 in 3, I think, or 1 in 5. Very, you know, it's just everybody is touched by this. So the book that we're talking about is WigEd. And tell me about the cover.
So I'm so excited about the cover. We initially we had a photo of a model with a wig on, and for whatever reasons, her New York agency wouldn't play ball with us. She got really famous very fast, and so we're like, we need to do another cover. And I started noticing every time, and this is in the book, we tell the cover story in there. I started noticing this as removing the wigs from the models and seeing just the wig cap, how much I love just seeing that their beautiful faces. And I liken it to black and white photography, where an element is removed and you just kind of see the facts of these faces. And I said, okay, we should really try a shot like that for the book. And then when we shot This Is Ali Lagarde on the cover, I was like, okay, we have the cover. Why should we say what wig goes on the cover of a wig book? Especially this is a first of its kind. Right. But it's also a nod to women, to let them know that if they choose to go wigless, that they are still beautiful and perfect and whole. So again, it's not my goal for women to wear wigs. It's my goal for them to have the information they need if they wish to wear a wig.
Yeah, and you know, it just says what to look for when looking for a wig. And you know, of course, there's a lot of mention in here about having to deal with the illness, but it doesn't only speak to that. And that's why I liked it, because I think I mentioned in the beginning, I have a couple of friends who, one lost all her hair from using a product that was helping her hair that she used for a long time. And then all of a sudden her hair fell out, you know, and it was just horrifying for her. And what she described is what I've seen, you know, in movies, I guess, because I haven't dealt with it myself, but where you just like, your hair comes out in your handfuls and you're just so unexpected and it's so emotional. And so she's, you know, she was going through trying to have reconstruction, I think. Mm-hmm. So, you know, and then I have other friends who just like a more polished look and are willing to pay for that. So that's good.
And I always say, you know, wigs offer either privacy or convenience or transformation. So there's lots of reasons someone would want to wear a wig. And to me, that there was nothing on this subject for any of those women was not acceptable. And I thought, well, I really want to address this for women going through treatment because it's such a significant thing that happens so fast and they have so many other things on their plate. That if they could have one book that was, you know, simple and easy to read, but also that spoke to their higher sense of self, that wasn't like, hey, you're sick, here's your book. You know, sometimes more like a magazine that felt like beautiful, that they would be proud to leave out on their desk or their, you know, table, and that's small enough and intimate enough to take with them. That was really my goal for the book, and to address the needs of anyone wearing a wig, but specifically call out, you know, special features of wigs for women who have alopecia or treatment for cancer.
Yeah, so, you know, it is a beautiful book too. It really is, and it would, you know, it is likened to a magazine. This beautiful, gorgeous photographs, and it kind of like a quick read. You can kind of just flip to what you want to learn, and or read the whole thing whole way through. It's very nice.
Thank you.
It does look like a magazine too. I totally get that. It feels like a little fashion, like a smaller version of a fashion magazine. It has that great feel. So people are saying love wigs with ill or not. Yes. You know, I like to wear wigs. I always had very thick hair, so I never knew how. I also would get, for some reason, embarrassed. It's just me, my personality. I don't like to ask questions. I like to find out things. I like to know things. If I go shopping, I want to be informed. I don't want to be questioning whether or not the person is trying to sell me the most expensive thing in the shop, or if they're really trying to help me. So I've always been intimidated. I've never really bought a wig. And when I've been in a place where they have them, I've just never wanted to ask, you know? I don't know why. I guess does that common, or am I just a total? I think
it's kind of overwhelming because, and there's a whole shopping section in chapter 7 that just kind of lets you, you know, kind of learn your way through this maze, because it's not like shopping. I liken it in the book to shopping for a very formal dress where you think you know what you want, you put it on, and you're like, oh no, this doesn't all look like what I thought.
Right.
And it just takes a little bit of time with shopping for a wig, because it's really a foreign thing for a lot of women if they have not done that before. And so, but having the information up front and kind of knowing things to ask and knowing, you know, what to expect is, I think, really helpful for a lot of women like you. And I think there's a lot of women like that, like, I just want to know some stuff going in. And so this is, you know, a book from someone who shops with women for wigs, but I don't sell wigs. So
that's it. Yeah, there's nothing in back going, okay, now contact me to order your wig. There's no prices. There's nothing in here. It's just really, it's not common sense. It's intelligent information that you need to know for this subject that nobody else has taken the time to share. And oh my gosh, I'm so glad to have met you and to learn this about you and share this with my readers. I have another friend of mine actually just logged on and said she loves wigs, and I've seen her wearing beautiful wigs. She's really can rock the wig. And so, you know, I get jealous. I totally want to do it. Now, I've done it on Halloween and stuff with the little kind, you know, and it's fun. But again, I can't turn my head because all my hair is in back. I have no idea what to do with it, even though my hair is starting to thin out now that I'm getting older. But, you know, there's just so much involved when thinking about it's a commitment, you know, it's a commitment. It's different. It's not just like dyeing your hair. It's different. It's an accessory kind of.
Yeah, it's very temporary. So in the time that you could, you know, really rethink whether or not you should have done those bangs in a wig, you could have just worn them for the weekend. I want to sit at the hairdressers and be a blonde. You could just do that for the night. And then I always joke that then what happens in Vegas really stays in Vegas, because you have your hair there. You can try on different personas and, you know, different looks that would take a lot of time and money to get in the salon. In a wig, you could have it in the blink of a wand. So.
Wow, that's a really exciting concept. I'm still looking to see if I have any pictures to share with you all, but if you look on my website, you might find some of me. Well, this is my actual hair. that my stylist did for me, but I'll see if I can put it over here. You can see. So this is Halloween. So I've got a lot of makeup on, and people are that's a wig, but it was my hair. It took hours to style it to look like that. Following year, just pulled it back, put a funky wig on, and, you know, had just as much fun. So, you know, I totally, okay, well, that's nice. But I like to look different. It makes me feel younger and lively and happier, and, you know, it just, and then you know, I'm into fashion and stuff, so I like to try different things and different looks. So
yeah, so just tell your kids you're just wearing it for the weekend, and you'll be back to what they know and love on Monday. I mean, that's the great thing about a wig. It's you know, very little commitment and very little wear and tear on your hair. Just recently, Keira Knightley came out to InStyle UK and said for the last 5 years, she's been wearing wigs in all her movies to save her hair.
really,
Color cut process, and her hair was really suffering. So she started wearing wigs in her movies. It was the best beauty tip she ever got. So lots of celebrities are wearing wigs or rocking red like Rihanna, and green with Gaga. I mean, like pink with Katy Perry. And now we have the information that we can decide to do that too.
right. Right, that's great. That's so true. I've got to see true blonde today and gone tomorrow. It's a temporary commitment. Yeah, you know what? You're right. And a good friend of mine had advised me to try it. She even sent me links for a wig because I wanted to go gray when that gray silver lavender color came out.
Beautiful trend.
Processed. I didn't do it. I didn't follow her advice. I challenged my stylist to make it happen, and she had to bleach my hair. She told me this is as much bleach as I can do in order to get it, get the color to stick, and it still probably won't stick, but we'll try it. Well, so yeah, I went through really weird hairs. I wish I had just, I'm still going to do it though, because I want that color. I'm going to do the wig. I'm going to find that.
There's a lot of beautiful gray tones in wigs now. They make so many wigs, and there's cool tones and warm tones. And I was going to give a tip to all of your listeners or watchers, or I don't know how you refer to them, all your peeps out there.
All my peeps, yeah.
For someone like you who has naturally dark hair, if you wanted to go to a blonde, they make these wonderful rooted colors. It's like when you see Beyonce or you see Nicki Minaj, and they have a blonde wig, and they have that dark root. That really helps to make it look like that's your color, and it's just growing out, and it adds depth and it adds believability.
Wow. That never would have crossed my mind. Okay, so here's this. This one was fun. I could do this, but this isn't what I'm talking about.
And that one, that's where we're talking about you don't want a shiny wig. And we've kind of editorialized a lot of the images to have fun with them. And that's obviously a very shiny wig.
Yes. Oh, and then this reminds me of when I was in my 20s and I had very long hair and curly, and that color. I totally rocked that. And, you know, I wouldn't think I could have that again, but I totally could.
You totally have that.
Oh my gosh. This is me in the 80s.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I used to use egg whites to spike up my hair. Yeah, like me and my friend, we did. By the end of the night, it was flaking in this like white dust, but it did work. So anyhow, what a joy to talk to you. And I'm sorry about the technical issues. Sometimes it's just a little harder, but I always feel like that's the universe trying to stop something good from happening, and I do not let that happen. Nothing is going to stop the goodness. So it works.
Positive, and I'm kind of a technophobe, so I was like, oh my gosh, I can't figure this out, and I was staying really patient because you were like so positive. I was like, okay, we're gonna figure this out. I really want to be on your show, and I love the format, and thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
Let me say that the book is available on Amazon, and there is a quick link. So there's a quick link on my website, which is WigEd.com, and they can press order now, and that'll take them directly to Amazon.
So, I did not right, type that right, WigEd.com. That's so easy, everybody. You can remember that, and you can tell all your friends, and this would make a great gift for your sister or your aunt or your BFF. Get 2 of them, one for you and one to give, because you're going to really love it. There's a lot of tips in here, and it's from the heart, from someone who cares, who's not trying to sell you a wig or makeup or, you know, a product line. It's just, this is your specialty, and you shine at it. Thank you so much, Jeanna.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to go offline now, and later I'll do some editing and send you a good copy of this as best as I can get. Okay. Awesome. And we'll post that on the blog and on YouTube, and it'll be fun. So good night, everybody. Thank you for being here on Tinseltown. And yes, my friends are saying you rock. You totally rock, Jeanna. I hope that you come back. And you know, there's so many topics we could talk about. So anyway, good night, everybody on Facebook. I'm going to turn this off, and we'll see you tomorrow night at 6 p.m. with my interview with Ruth Curran. We're going to be talking about her trip to Tanzania and what it is to travel with purpose. Good night, everyone.